Hello and welcome to another episode of Hope Beyond the Headlines. I am Laurie Adams, the CEO of Women for Women International, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here today with Audry Shematsi, the Country Director of Women for Women International in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So this series of Hope Beyond the Headlines is focused on women's leadership and power. And there is no one better to speak about women's power and leadership than Audry. She herself is an incredible model and mentor in advancing women's power. And she's also been a longtime member of the Women for Women International family. She started with us 15 years ago as a trainer straight out of law school in Bukavu. She went on to take on leadership and management roles in multiple different international NGOs in South Africa, South Sudan, in her own country of Congo. And we could not be prouder that she came back to rejoin us and to lead our work in Congo and also to help shape our work globally because Audry is part of our global leadership team, helping us figure out how to take our program to the next level. So Audry, I'd like to start by asking you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what else about you as a women's leader and why is it important for women to see women leaders like yourself who they feel represent them.
Okay, so I'm Audry. I'm just a woman, like many women in the world. I got a chance to go to school and to study law and to join an organization like Women for Women. And so that, kind of get me to learn really and define my focus. But I always see myself as an activist. It's starting when I was young, very young. So I think Women for Women and other organizations I work with just gave me the platform to actually exercise my agenda. So I'm a mother of two boys, I'm married, and I live in Congo, currently in South Kivu, where our office is based. I have a twin sister, identical twin sister, who do not think like me, but although we're twin sister.
So Audry, thank you for sharing a little bit about yourself. Can you talk a little bit more about what inspired you to step into leadership and a career of supporting women? You mentioned that your twin sister has taken a different path, and it's not an easy path to confront patriarchy and to every single day try to address issues of women's power. So what inspired you to step into leadership? And maybe even a little bit, what keeps you going?
Yeah, I think I see myself as a survivor of patriarchy. Then I want to make sure that, other women in the world are not, minimizing all the, kind of bad effect of the patriarchy system on women. So this is one of the first moves. I am one of them. I grew up in an African culture where I was all the time reminded that I'm a woman, I'm not supposed to do this and this and this. But I had a chance, for instance, my father, who was all the time crying because mother used to give birth to only girls, and him having girls will not benefit. I was just like, they will not perpetuate the name in the family. And then coping up mechanism, he just decided to raise us as boy and put us in school and then push us to become boys in his mind. So that's kind of survivors. That's why I'm survivors, because from that kind of push, coping up mechanism, I came to learn women's rights. I came to join Women for Women and hear the story of women and realizing that there's need for us to stand and change these all conditions that women are facing. I want to see girls who are more confident. I want to see girls who can choose for what they want to do in terms of career. I want to see girls who can walk around without fearing that they will be raped. I want to see girls who can decide whether to get married or not. I want to see this kind of society because I think this is the most important society that we need to build and we need to create. So I think this is where I got my kind of inspiration. So being aware that women are suffering out there and then I can do something. I don't see myself as a big hero, but I mean the small change that I can do, it's important for me to do it. So this is one of the kind of inspiration that I get. But I also look at around me. I've seen women who have been involved in the struggle and they've done quite great. So when we compare 20 years down the line and we've seen what we are now today in the country, we have a protection, we have legal protection, we have services that are promoting women's rights because some women stood up to defend and to demand for that. So those are people that inspire me. And I'm seeing leaders, women leaders, and all the time when I'm facing, I don't know, an article with a very nice story of a leader, I like, I can do it. I want to be that. I want. Those are the kind of inspiration that get me every day. But also in the context of DRC, when you wake up and you hear all those audible stories, that push you to continue, to demanding, to kind of fuel self to demand, because situation, although we have improved in the legal system, but the situation is still chaotic for women. So, and it's in front of your eyes. You cannot run away from it. It's in front of you every day. When you see the community, you visit the community, and you from the time you walk from the office to the village, you will see all along the road women carrying things. They are the one, going to fetch water, going to sell, going, and it's so touchy. Why is that? And then this is some of the things that remind you that things should change, and we still have to work on that. Yeah.
That's really, really inspiring, Audrey. And I think you've answered a question I had a little bit about some of the challenges you faced in being a leader and some of the barriers. I mean, one of the things, in the Congolese context I've really noticed is, in some societies, there's some kind of notion that women are weak and they have to, sort of work less or something. But certainly in the Congo, there's no notion that women are weak. Women are strong and they're expected to do really, really heavy work on top of all the caring responsibility, on top of all of these. So let me take you to a different question. Because one of the things that has really inspired me about the team in Congo is the degree, how deeply rooted we are in the communities in which we serve. I know one of the trainers that I've had the opportunity to meet, Honorata, actually started off as a participant in our program. She then became a trainer. She's gone on to support over 2,000 women to go through our program. You yourself, you started as a trainer, and now you're the country director. So I can only imagine that the other trainers have now had their their ambitions expanded, that they too can become a country director. We've been talking a lot about how important it is for the whole entire humanitarian and development sector to be transformed, so that someone with your level of experience and is not just a leader and a mentor to women in Congo who see you as representing them, but also transforming the whole sector and leading us globally. Can you talk a little bit about why it's so important for you as a Congolese woman to be leading not only the Congo program, but also be providing leadership to Women for Women globally and to the sector?
One of the key things is actually connected to what I said. In this role, you're really concerned about bringing change. It's not just a salary that you want to get from Women from him, because this is my community and change will benefit my generation. So there's that kind of connection, passion to really work hard to bring change. The second thing is, you're right. You can count number of Congolese women who are CD. And I'm sure this is some of the challenge that I'm facing as being African female and CD. You see people expecting single men and white. And sometimes when I write an email to someone, it said, where are you from? They think I'm from outside, because this is the role that, normally in many organizations, 80% of organizations, it's only either expatriate and male. So I think this is the challenge of, as a female, you have that look of like, oh my God, is she gonna do it? Is she gonna be able? And then you're working in the eastern part where it's quite kind of, in terms of the security context, very challenging. And they keep reminding you that, just by looking at you, how are you gonna do it? The other challenge is like, for instance, even in their own environment, women look at you and say, ooh, rather than doing the reproductive role, the caring role, she's spending time on this. It's like blaming you. How can you get this role? But that will not stop me, because being here means it's possible. And I can tell you that the time I got on board, I have committed myself to listen to women. And the fact that I'm on board here, women comes to me and tells me story. I receive women coming to me. They feel that there's a woman there, we can talk to her. So this is a very interesting message. There's a woman Congolese who's there, who can talk to her and tell her she will understand the message. So part of my time, I'm like having audiences. People want to see me and I say, if it's a woman, please, I will get myself time to listen to her. Because listening to women participants, being with them for 2 years when I was in Women for Women got me to this role. So I think those are the things that as someone from this context, where we're sensitive about, they just come to you and tell you story, not story, they live and you listen to them. You connect with them and you give them hope. There are even former Women for Women workers who came to me even to tell me story about, challenge they're facing in other organizations, just to have an idea of, what do you think? And we can share that. I think it's really important to have that kind of connection. And myself felt difficult to connect with these people who do not really understand my context. But of course, I have to go beyond that in my role because networking is quite relevant. So I think this is one of the most important things, being a woman in Congolese, is just to spread message that I am connected to your context. I understand what you are going through. I can do my best to address, and you really force yourself to address that. The passion at the heart, you put your heart in your role because this is your country and this is your community. Yeah.
Audrey, two things come to mind. One is just absolute inspiration, and the other one is a bit of exhaustion. I mean, you're having to be up against expectations, to be up against pressure from other people who don't see you as the norm. And then also you're having this extra effort that you're putting to mentor and support other women who come to you because they do need that leadership. So the work you're doing to build more leadership, more women's leadership, so that there are more women to help share this incredible job you're doing as a leader. But I want to ask you something else about why it's so important to have women's leadership and to challenge our sector and improve it. This month, a study came out that the New Humanitarian did that showed that over 50 women came forward in Congo saying that during the Ebola response, they experienced sexual abuse from people who were responding within in the Ebola response. And this is something we've seen in our sector before. It horrifies all of us, and yet it persists. Can you talk a little bit about what needs to be done at Women for Women and in the sector to make sure that aid doesn't bring with it opportunities for corruption and abuse, and whether you think that there's any link to the importance of women's leadership in relation to this issue?
Yeah, I think the second question is, I think as a woman leader, this is an issue that, of course, cannot will have to influence the way I am leading this whole program. Because as a woman, I felt when a woman is affected, I am affected. If she's able to be harassing me, I will be harassed, and they should stop. And the state should be very strong. And I'm really committed to look into that. We have a system in place, of course, we do. Working with women, we cannot operate with that system. We have a system in place where that is to kind of collect information that's linked to sexual harassment and how to deal with it. So we have already the system in place. But this morning I was asking myself, my sisters, is the system good enough for them? Maybe this is a time to question and ask them, are you thinking that the system is okay? Will you come forward if you get to know, if you get to experience this? Either it's our staff, either it's outside. This is the question that I've been asking myself. How simple it is for them to report to us, because I don't stand this. I don't really stand. As an activist, that is unacceptable. We humanitarians come to provide services. We do not come here to exploit women. That is unacceptable. That is tolerance zero. So I think this is what I'm standing. right now. And this is my community. Those are my sisters. Those are my brothers. Those are my mothers that can be affected. Of course, we have to take a stand. We have to take a stand. It's unfortunately that it's a criminal act. And in terms of controlling those criminal acts, we cannot praise ourselves, but at least we will do our best to have a system that will listen to women and women report, and we will take action immediately. Yeah, this is my stand.
That's really powerful, Audrey. And I absolutely agree. Some of my early work in Congo back in 2000 was investigating incidences of sexual abuse. And we live in contexts and work in contexts in which we have to go up against lots of patriarchal norms that some people find acceptable and we find absolutely unacceptable. And so that's another part of your leadership that's so important. You are mentoring women, you are raising the standards, you are overcoming expectations, all while also raising your children, all while doing the full job of a country director, that someone who doesn't have to go up against all of this patriarchal nonsense and sexism and racism doesn't have to face. So we thank you for that. And it's not just the women in the program who look up to you, who are inspired. It is all of us who are inspired. And I really grateful every day for that extra effort you take to bring all of these perspectives to us. So I want to come back to the story that you started with us 15 years ago, and then you left and you had the opportunity to work with other organizations, and then you came back. So you have this perspective on Women for Women's program that is both a historical one and a comparative one, because you worked for some other excellent organizations as well. Can you talk to us a little bit from that historical perspective and that comparative perspective? What did you see change and improve about Women for Women International program? Having seen other people's programs as well, what do you think is really outstanding about what we do, and where do you think we have to learn from others?
Okay, the outstanding part is we really invest more to change the self, which is very important. Patriarchy system define us differently, and our program get to change the definition of women from the patriarchy system. And this is so big, and sometimes I tell myself, how can we document this type of change? Because a woman that believes that, oh, I can do it, I know my right, I'm capable of doing, that's a big stage. This is the first thing, the first kind of change. So I think this is unique to Women for Women, and it has been like that when I left. We have made a lot of improvement in terms of tracking really that change when I got in, but this is something that, I keep on telling myself, how can I bring that unique thing of Women for Women different platform? And of course, when you talk about this discussion with others, they just say like, wow, you unique. Because it's a 12-month program that we get a woman to change the way she think about herself, but also to commit in a community. And I was like visiting this group. They were like, we were doing this, group of women, and they decided to do that small garden, and they want to give the harvest to the nutrition center. That was really something very amazing. So they're taking stand in the community. There's problem of nutrition. We want to support that. So this is some of the change, because they believe that we can do it. We can bring change in the community. So I think this is one of the greatest things that Women for Women is doing. But in terms of what we can learn from others, I think we have to really document our approach, document in a way that it can serve as model of the women economic empowerment. And we need to really position ourselves as the organization that provide women and economic empowerment. So I think, and from that, we can bring to other platforms and tell them the way it's worked and the way we're doing it. But we have to also look at how we can profile ourselves. I'm talking about the DRC context across level. So we're doing a lot of investment to get a woman confident and get her to do a business, get her to commit to entrepreneurship role. But we do not invest much more in terms of the entrepreneurship environment. I think those are the things that we need to have in future and say, okay, they are there. They are tailors, they're doing soap, they're doing basket, they are selling avocado, and they are via celeb. And at what extent? The environment, they have challenge around tax, they have challenge around sexual exploitation. How do we make sure that entrepreneurship environment led them to stand forever? This is
Fantastic.
where I think we need to invest, and we can go beyond community level, because we've been quite great in working at the grassroots level, but we should look at working with other organizations that can support to bring that kind of advocacy and different platforms so that the environment will be sustainable for women to continue their journey, their successful journey.
That correlates so much, Audrey, with what my own experience and perspective is, and what I think we're seeing across the different programs. Women for Women International has been able to serve one woman at a time. For 27 years, we've reached 500,000 women through the generosity primarily of sponsors who have provided $35 a month. That has allowed us, that investment from individuals has allowed us to dig down, go deep in communities, really listen to women, and adapt our program over time. What we haven't done as well, because we're just so focused on serving women and listening to women and adapting, is be part of the larger ecosystem. So now that the World Bank and the big INGOs are saying, wow, if we're going to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and leave no one behind, where we have to really focus is figure out how to reach the most marginalized women, the most poor women, the people who are most likely to not get out of poverty. We have to figure out how to do that. Women for Women has been doing that for over 25 years, but on a relatively small scale. So what you're saying is so important. We have to document what we do and share it with others who have much larger resources and who can take what we've learned to do so carefully with this investment from individuals and take it to reach the over 280 million women who are living in unacceptable conditions of violence, discrimination, and conflict. We as Women for Women cannot reach every single one of those women on our own, even with the generosity of our supporters. So that going to scale is so important. And the other thing that you've said, I just want to highlight is, again, we're focusing on one woman at a time, but women live in a community and they live in a nation. And so what you said about looking more at markets and systemic change, and with others changing policy and markets is really, really important. Can I ask you two more questions for you on those big issues that you've raised and that you've so astutely, just I think 6 months back at Women for Women, and you've already nailed it in terms of what can we do better and more. What are your plans for the DRC? What do you hope to see us to do more of in the short term? Because you can't achieve all of that right away.
I want in the DRC to know that we are the organization that provides a real, that assists really real women and support them in a how can I say that? Support them to improve economically. So I want that kind of, social and economic model that we have to be the one that the champion, if I champion. So we should be the reference. All the time they talk about social economic empowerment. Women for Women should appear at any platform because we have a model to serve. This is what I want to see. I want to see a cluster that will be led by Women for Women on women economic empowerment, where we'll bring all organizations discuss around women economic empowerment. This is what I want to see. I want to see Women for Women in the capital in Kinshasa to be invited to talk about our model, because it is real. I believe in the model that I am working with now. That's why I'm back. It's real. I want to have this kind of, platform where we will show that model. I also want to see that we've expanded our work in other places. This is amazing what we're doing. And if we can get other women outside where we are now, we've been in this South Kivu for more than 10 years now, and we need to see how to go to other places.
So Audrey, what you were saying about people understanding that Women for Women's program and our efforts to increase women's power are just as much about economic power as they are about social and political power is really, really important. Because earnings, savings, livelihoods, these are a form of power. And women's rights are not just social and reproductive rights and health rights and rights to participate. There are also economic rights. And so thank you for making that point. One last question for you, and I know it's at 8 p.m. in DRC, so I promise I'm gonna let you go now after this, after a very long day of work for you, is looking forward, what does the future look like with more women in power?
Laurie, I think at that question, I wanted to say with more feminists on power. Because women that do not have a feminist agenda, that's just like nothing. So I want to see feminists on power, women, then men, who can really advocate and bring change in women's rights, in women's conditions. So this is what I want to see. So if you have women, 10 women, 100 women like me in DRC, I am hopeful that things will move forward quickly. That belief, change is important. That belief patriarchy is something that we have to put down. That's committed to change in a community that she belongs in. That she's also part of the community. She's been indirectly affected by all the sufferings that women are going through. So I think that will be the beginning of something big. I don't want to say what, but I think if I find 100 women that think like me or other women here, just in South Kivu, we can move. We can actually bring a lot of change in terms of influencing, in terms of changing policy, in terms of bringing more women to think differently, in terms of just by seeing ourselves will bring a lot of change in women's minds and perception of themselves.
Audrey, I am absolutely sure that anyone who has joined us today and had the opportunity to hear you will totally agree. If we have 100 more Audreys with your power analysis, your determination, your skills, your commitment, patriarchy, watch out. So thank you so much for this incredible work you're doing. For all of our viewers, if you want to stay up to date with Audrey's work, learn more about she and her team are investing in women in the DRC, please go to our website, womenforwomen.org, and be sure to subscribe to us on social media at Women for Women. There's another Hope Beyond the Headline conversation that I've had with Audrey and with the head of our research team that digs a little bit more into our work in Congo. And there are a number of other interviews. So please join us. And Audrey, thank you so much. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for the time with us.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Laurie. It was nice speaking to you.
Great to talk to you. And thanks everyone for joining us. Bye-bye.